Welcome, Janet. Good to see you. Thank you for accepting the invitation to come and have a chat with me today. The topic I felt would be good for us to discuss was community, and we can sort of take that in whatever direction we feel we want to take it. Yeah, when I first moved to Waterloo 2018, I think that was around the time that we first connected, and it was through the community forest garden.
Hmm.
And yeah, you run Barnett's Whole Food shop on St. John's Road, and I guess you've always been a real, yeah, beacon of community spirit, and I can just see how much you give to the local community, and I'm interested to, yeah, kind of take you back to your early days. Do you have like early awareness of community, and what form did that take?
Well, yes, I had a very happy childhood and community. It's like asking a goldfish what's water like, isn't it? Community was just part of it. And we knew our neighbours and we knew, you know, we'd grown up with people. We went to church. I was in the brownies and the guides and the school, and it was all quite close, fairly closely knit. I suppose the downside of that is we'd become a little bit inward looking, really. And it's not so broad, is it? Your knowledge then of the rest of the world. The way the world's changed, it's easy to lose that that physical connection, isn't it? People are going out to work and never knowing their neighbours. People are shopping online and they don't have that daily experience of just seeing people that they know, just passing, in the street saying hello. Um, and it just, so many people walk past with their eyes on the pavement, trying to avoid eye contact.
Mm. Would you say that's been quite a gradual thing, or can you remember there being quite distinct points where that changed?
Being in Ireland, in a small community there, near a small village. You knew everybody, and I absolutely love that. And I know there's times in people's life when they need to go away and be strangers somewhere, and I've done that myself. I remember reading an article that said people are happiest in small communities and really feeling the power of that. And then coming back here, 2000, after the 80s, and it happened, and business had become more and more important and stuff. Coming back here, um, and yes, it's felt very changed then. Felt very lacking in that.
Mm.
Um, I was so grateful to be able to get in to start the shop and to get involved in the park organisation. So that is the both of them a natural place that would just naturally builds a network and naturally builds community. For me personally, to feel that I'm surrounded by people I know and I can trust and are friends, and it's really important. I have lived in Ireland for 12 years where I learnt so much and then came back more or less to the place of my birth in Waterloo here in the turn of the century 2000. I felt I was very much on a mission when I came back. I think I've always been on a mission really, but I felt like I was back into Waterloo to bring all that Ireland had taught me. And I remember feeling so passionate. Community was once mentioned when I was there in church, and I just kind of went into shaking, with the force of how important that is. I've been on the edge and nearly joined a couple of intentional communities, very, very close call, 3 times I can think of, and really, really wanted to do that. But somehow that never happened. And I always absolutely do my best to follow what the divine wants for me to do. And it seemed very clear that the divine didn't want me to join an intentional community. Community is all around us, isn't it? And, try and do the best to bring heaven to earth wherever you find yourself was the message for me. For me, community isn't two-dimensional. It's not just about what we see and the people we see around us. community is four-dimensional. Two dimensions are like the people around you, what you see. The third dimension would be the other realms, and the fourth dimension would be other times. So some community workers would be very, very clearly out there building, building community centres and stuff like that. Others might be sat in, what's the song? Sat in their room finding Brigadoon. And it's all important.
Mm.
Um, when I first moved to Ireland, I was just looking to move back into nature, And when I first got there, I my perception was that there was the church at that point had really, hit Skid Row really. And so I felt like, oh, there's no religion here, there's no spirituality here. And then I quite soon realized that there was a deep innate spirituality that was un processed and un not organized by people, in the form of nature, in the form of people's intuition, in the form of their deep knowing and their connection with each other and the earth. That's what informs me now. That's what I, I feel that it really helped me being there to connect with that side of myself. And now an overriding theme is so connecting with nature, the nature in us,
Mm.
and the nature out there.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, thank you. I think nature is the ultimate teacher when it comes to so many things, and I think community is definitely one of them. You know, just the interconnectedness and the this kind of
Mhm,
multi-dimensionality that you speak of. And I feel like it is something that everyone's longing for on some level, whether they're conscious of it or not. And I suppose we have things like social media where there's like an illusion of community and connection, and you are connecting in on one level, but I think nothing compares to that in person relating, and that's definitely something that we're seeing less and less. And I think yeah, COVID was a
mhm,
big thing with that, and I feel like things have yeah definitely changed since then. A lot of people working from home, for example, when they didn't have to before, and I think a lot of people quite liking that isolation, and there's a maybe a fear in some people around other humans and
mhm,
yeah, it's interesting. So I was born in 1986. So you mentioned the 80s, and my understanding of the 80s was that that was a real turning point. And I might have to fact check this, but I'm sure I saw a quote from Margaret Thatcher where she said something along the lines of community doesn't exist or something like that. I'd have to fact
mhm.
check that, but I know, yeah, it feels like there has been this kind of systematic dismantling of community and yeah, I think so many things, even like the family unit. A lot of
Mm,
families that are not together in that traditional way. Um, and not to say that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it is interesting looking back and trying to identify the factors that led us to being where we are now.
mm,
And then I suppose it's okay, well, where do we want to go from here?
mm,
But I think it's fair to say that we have lost something along the way.
mm,
So I've recently tried to connect with people on my street, and I've printed out some flyers, um, just like an invitation to be part of some kind of community group. And yeah, it was during the day, so I went and knocked on people's doors. A few people were in, had some nice conversation, and a few people were interested. And it was interesting. There were two older ladies that I spoke to who have lived on my street for over 40 years, I think they said. And it was interesting hearing their point of view on community. And yeah, I think one of them said, "Oh yeah, good luck with that." there were a few, and it was more kind of my generation actually who replied, and we've got a little WhatsApp group. We've not done anything yet, but it feels like something at least, and maybe we can grow from there because it is strange that we live on these streets and we don't know our
Mhm.
neighbors, and there might be people who live nearby who you have a really good connection with, lots of things in common. That they might have children similar age to your children, and but I think unless we don't have those spaces where we can meet organically, I think that's part of the problem. Yeah, those opportunities to make connection are less.
The casual day-to-day connections can be valuable. And we all need time by ourselves, don't we? We all need to kind of strengthen ourselves, our individuality. So because there's an awful lot of mistakes can be made by following the herd, following the crowd, aren't there? So perhaps we've been learning that and we've needed to have our time to ourselves. But there's a balance, isn't there? And also we can never there's an awful lot of people around. We'd go crazy if we tried to connect with them all. That's why we can't do Facebook.
Mm.
I can't do Facebook. It feels like too much, and I feel quite stressed at the thought of enough. But there are things within social media that are very, very useful. We've got a really good WhatsApp group for our road, which works beautifully, and the neighbours on that have come through to help me at the drop of a hat when I've really needed help a few times, or just borrowing something or picking up the post, or But there was a couple of times when we really had a crisis at home, and people winged it round within about 2 minutes. So
Mm.
um, the technology, the social media side, we've just got to use it to our advantage, haven't we? Not let it use us. So yeah, we've got to
Yeah.
kind of cherry pick because we're in massive big communities, aren't we? Now, big towns. Most of us live in big towns. When I lived in the country in Ireland, every single neighbour was a valuable thing. But now there's no way you can connect with everybody. Of course you can't. But it does no harm to to have a smile from most people or to receive a smile from most people. That's lovely. That boosts you.
I think because it is something that so many people are desiring on some level, connection. There are
Mm,
people who would rather not have human interaction, and they should be allowed to live the way
absolutely.
they want to live. But I think there are
Yeah.
people who are desiring it, but maybe lack the whatever it is to instigate, say, setting up a WhatsApp group or
Yeah. Yeah.
have. So I think there are certain people who have that quality to instigate or create a container or a group or whatever it is, and I suppose there's an invitation to whoever's watching this to, if you are one of those people, to yeah to create a community group for where you live. And so at the time of recording this video, we're not far from Christmas, and I know there'll be people on my street who don't have family around, and it can be a very lonely time.
I mean, I've followed many spiritual paths. I've trained as an interfaith minister, and so many religions, people spend time by themselves. So, it's like a human nature thing. So, yeah, the need to be by ourselves from time to time is innate. And so we can't be saying one size fits all, everybody needs to connect more. There just needs to be the choice, doesn't there? It helps if we can learn to trust more, take some chances. I would say more. I think on taking chances on people.
Mm.
Um, Try to have a mindset that a stranger's just a friend you haven't met yet. So now I'll say things to people that are passing in the street and whatever, compliment them on the clothes or I love your skirt or something like that. And it comes back to me tenfold, I feel like.
yeah, you can really transform someone's day by paying them a
Yeah,
compliment and
yeah. And it really
yeah.
feeds yourself. And if you tell somebody, "Oh, I love your hat," you're telling them you love them, aren't you? Really, in a kind of acceptable way, without being creepy.
Mm,
And it's like a bit like a sense something we have that needs to be exercised. If we don't exercise our connection and our courage with connecting with people, then it'll shrink and we will become more and more introverted and shy. So it does somehow those boundaries need to be pushed back a little bit with a little bit of effort sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
At its own pace, of course, and everybody's different on that where they are with that.
Mm, yeah, I like that idea that it's like a muscle.
Mm.
Yeah, and then I think the longer that it persists, and then people might just start to identify themselves as, oh, I'm an introvert, I don't do that. Um, and it's kind of easier to not, isn't it?
Mhm.
And then yeah,
Yeah, so of
yeah,
course it is, but we're a lot more flexible. Our
mm,
brains, our minds, our worldviews are a lot more malleable than we give ourselves credit for often enough.
mm. Yeah, I think the fear is definitely a big factor, and technology and media being what it is, it's so much
Mhm.
easier for fear to
Yeah.
enter people's awarenesses
Oh,
and they
yeah.
construct all these ideas and beliefs which are not necessarily based on reality.
What you focus on grows.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad news. The bad news is usually the thing that is talked about, spread, shown on the television. Um, and it's only, as Russell Brand said, it should be called some news, not the news. And yeah, it can be overwhelming. It can easily overwhelm and drag us down, can't it? If there was a medicine you were given that would make you feel depressed, helpless, overwhelmed, and would you take it every day? I don't. I want to be of help to the world. I genuinely do. But if I am rubbing my nose in all the worst things that are happening on a daily basis, then how can I have the wherewithal to send genuine healing prayers to the things that do come into my awareness? How can I really give 100% when to what's there, what comes to me, rather than me going out looking for the worst of the worst, looking into the chasm when you fall in if you're not careful. Which wolf are you going to feed? The grey wolf or the white wolf?
Mm.
Look for
Yeah.
the good in things and people. There's
Mm.
always a choice, isn't there? You can look at the gutter or you can look at the stars. This is age-old wisdom. People have always known this. And it is human nature to want to talk and share about the bad news. And yes, we have to kind of support each other. We have to listen, and we need that day to day, those little interactions that can be so therapeutic when we are going through things, that we can share what's going on with us. So I'm not talking about putting on a false pretense of trying to pretend everything's all right when it's not. If we feel shite,
Mm.
we need to blurt that out and tell people. But I am talking about the kind of looking at the terrible things that are happening in other parts of the world, almost for entertainment and a distraction, or maybe just as bad, just in the background that we're taking no notice of.
Yeah, I think the distraction and the overwhelm feels quite rife
Mm,
at the moment, especially for sort of younger generations, for whom it probably feels quite normal. That's the world that they've always known. But yeah, I remember a time before the internet, and smartphones and and now it's just so ingrained
mm,
in our world. And I did mention COVID, and I think one thing that did come out of the COVID years was there was a lot of community spirit, I feel, that came out of that. That may not have been everyone's experience, but I think for some people it did really encourage this like coming together and supporting one another um and maybe some of that has stuck as well. So I think we've kind of got the two extremes. We kind of got the fear and the isolation, and then we've got the the community and coming together on the other hand. But yeah, I think it's a choice, like you say, kind of which wolf do we feed, and not everyone will have had positive experiences of community, and it is
Oh, yeah.
and it kind of feels like something that that we that we used to have and now we don't have, but we feel like we need this thing that we've not experienced, but it feels so kind of fundamental to being human and this sort of kind of village, having the tribe, and we're all kind of looking out for one another. And I suppose for me, I'm interested in how we cultivate that.
We can't avoid being in community. Everything is community, from the food on our plate and the way it's brought there. We're linked, full stop. We're we're such a complex society. All these things are part and parcel, aren't they? It's lovely to have these choices. There's community within the army, isn't there? People love that buddydom, that aspect of buddydom. There's community, there's loads of different opportunities to join different kinds of communities. And it's all there for us, really.
So I've just looked up what the definition of community is. So I'll just read what's here. So we've got a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. We've got a group of people living together and practicing common ownership. The example they give is a community of nuns. We've got a particular area or place considered together with its inhabitants. A body of nations or states unified by common interests. The condition of sharing or having certain attitudes and interests in common. A group of interdependent plants or animals growing or living together in natural conditions or occupying a specified habitat. So yeah, I guess it can be many, many things.
Yeah. I studied, it just made me realize I studied ecology. I did a degree in ecology at university, and that is the interaction with people, plants, and their environment. So that's looking at community as well, isn't it? Funnily enough.
Mm.
And and I remember being on a holiday in Cyprus quite a few years ago and just being drawn to this big ants' nest. Those tiny little ants had made a mountain nearly, what, it was about 6 inches high and about 3 foot wide. They'd they without being able to talk or without any lawyers or rules or police force or anything formal, they'd managed to create this, to them, what was a mountain. And I was watching the ants. Don't know if you've ever sat and watched ants, but they're amazing. They potter around, but they each one was picking up a tiny little stick, which was like a huge log to it, and to carry it so far and drop it, and then another ant would come along, pick it up, and carry it a bit further. So, in a completely informal, intuitive way, they'd created this amazing ant's nest. At the moment, because we are all kind of, we're learning, aren't we? We're like children, us human beings. We're all learning, and we need to have, unfortunately, we need to have, the whole all these structures that we need. We need prisons, we need police to protect us. And there's a lot of people who say we don't need those things, but probably at the moment we do. We need all these things because we can't kind of, we don't live in a perfect way, each of us. But yeah, one day we'll follow John Lennon's Imagine, won't we? Well, we don't need any of these structures. We don't need any of these formalities. We don't need to spend an awful lot of our time doing work that doesn't really contribute to the overall benefit of humanity or the planet.
Mm.
So, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, I think the disconnect from nature and from the land
Mm.
is is a big factor in it as well.
Mm.
Because like you were saying, it's community is just a sort of natural way of being. And I think, yeah, what has happened is that we've become so detached from our environments and the land, and that's what unifies us is the planet that we're on, or the bit of land that we're on. Yeah, and you and I like to celebrate the Wheel of the Year celebrations, and I feel that that's such a great map for people all over the planet. They can all tune in to these points on the Wheel of the Year, and those celebrations help us to, yeah, connect to the land and the seasons and the harvest. But again, we've just become very, yeah, detached from these natural cycles, these natural ways of being. There's a lot of positive movement happening on the planet right now. It's not stuff that we tend to get told about on a day-to-day basis. We talked about the news and how that tends to, be focused more on the doom and the gloom and the war and the I don't know why my camera's decided to do that little zoom out there. Bit dramatic effect. It's just got a mind of its own. Um, but yeah, yeah, I think it's kind of focusing on what we want, and then find. I think when you find people who are wanting a similar thing, and then that helps to kind of amplify the the vision, and that's not me saying kind of everyone living together in the same community, but it's more, yeah, I'm going to use the word vibration, the vibration of community
Like this.
and of exactly. Yeah.
LOVE. We haven't mentioned that yet
Mm.
because we can get lost in the detail. And I think that um, this is a big long term. We don't really know what detail is going to pan out, do we? We can't know the future, but we need to throw our anchor as far forward as we can into just a loving, peaceful community society, and then and kind of see how see what follows after that. Who knows how what form or forms those societies and communities will take, but they simply need to be based on love, don't they?
It is kind of just holding that, again,
Oh,
I use the word vibration, kind of embodying that, but then how we kind of practice it in our day to day, and yeah, it can be, you know, paying a stranger a compliment. It can be,
those little
it can just
ways,
be a
absolutely.
smile. It can
Doing
be,
that, yeah,
and then the ripples of that, I do believe can be massive. And
yeah. Carry us to the right place. I remember reading about the Fintorn community, and Eileen Caddy always promoted the idea that if you see a job that needs doing, then by definition, it's your job.
mm,
Just do it. You
mm,
see that if you see that bit of litter that's annoying you, perhaps it's your job to pick it up. That kind of thing.
mm,
That person that needs help, perhaps it's your job to have a kind word with them.
mm,
Feels so much better to do something.
mm. Yeah, I think responsibility is is feels like a key part of community,
Mm.
and maybe a lot of people don't feel
Invested.
responsible for, where they live. They have their home and they feel, right, I'm just responsible for looking after my home and my garden. This is my little kingdom.
Yeah.
I'm not responsible for what happens outside of that. That's the council's responsibility, or the police's responsibility. Or so there's kind of been this yeah, giving away of our power in that way, I suppose.
Recently, somebody I know very well was looking to buy a house. She and her partner have got six children. So they were looking at this enormous house with a bedroom for each of the children, and it doesn't work out somehow. But she realized what she needed was doesn't really matter how many bedrooms she has because the children are quite happy bunking up anyway. But she wanted a big community room and a big garden so they can gather, and yeah, she could easily have gone down the road of we all need one little bedroom to ourselves. It was like it epitomized those choices, individuality or community.
Mm,
I'm glad to say she's thumping for the big
mm,
community, the big gathering place now, and the big garden. Not very many bedrooms.
mm. Yeah. But yeah, so kind of how we integrate the two kind of, yeah, being individual, being in community.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then so that's yeah, maybe that's kind of where we're up to
yeah.
in humanity's journey. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see, yeah, what the future has in store. But it does feel like there's these two timelines almost, or
Yeah,
and I think some people will feel
absolutely.
more that way.
Together we're
Other people.
stronger.
Mm,
Divided we fall. Together we're stronger.
mm,
There's definitely space to within the togetherness to have alone time, isn't there? But we do need to somehow come together, don't we? Move in the same direction
mm,
somehow. And it's beyond anybody's plan, isn't it?
mm,
But there is, I mean, I completely believe there is a force, a benign force of love, if you want to call it that,
mm,
that is trying to take us in that direction. And if we just, you know, surrender our fears, surrender our issues, and work on ourselves really and things around us,
mm,
then we can't help but go in the right direction.
mm. Yeah, it went to that. I feel we have reached a good end point there, and it's a conversation that we could carry on with for a long, long time, and maybe we'll do another one of these at some point and take it in a slightly different direction. Um, but yeah, thank you so much, Janet, for
Mhm.
coming to have a chat with me, and yeah, thank you again for all that you do for the local community and for being that inspiration for so many people. And yeah, thank you.
It's all a great pleasure. I gain more than I give. Thank you. Thanks,
Thanks,
Tom.
Janet.